Hab Gut, how to set up and play. First thing you'll do is lay out the game board, set each of the price markers on value 40. There are 6 goods in the game. Black represents coal, yellow is wheat, red is coffee, brown is wood, green is tea, and white is salt. For each of the 6 goods, lay out their deck of corresponding share cards. These are all identical. For each good, there are 10 share cards. Next, you're going to shuffle the deck of market cards and deal 8 to each player. Each player has visibility and access to the cards in front of them, as well as the player on their right. So as this player, I have access to these 2 sets of cards. I cannot see the cards from the player on my left. This player can see theirs as well as these cards, since I am on their right. Players should order their cards by good type so it's easy to quickly identify them. Each good type has market cards. They have 2+2s, 2+4s, and 2+6s, as well as 1 -2, a -4, and a -6. Next, each player will start with $300. I'm using poker chips, but you can use the supplied paper money that came with the game. Each player will also get a charity board, and then finally randomly select a start player and give them the top hat token. Now you're ready to start the game. The first phase of a game turn is the stock phase. So starting with the start player, a player can decide to buy or sell shares. They can buy up to 3, or they can sell up to 3, or they can do neither. But you can't buy and sell. If you're buying shares, you pay the current market price on the game board, but you're not allowed to buy any shares if the price for that good is already at 0. So simply pay your money to the bank and take your share cards into your player area. So this player decided to buy 1 coal, 1 wheat, and 1 coffee. We know at the start of the game the starting price is 40, so they paid their 120 to the bank, and they took these share cards into their hand. So if the player does decide to buy, they can buy any combination of share cards up to 3, as long as there are share cards left in the stack. If a stack was completely depleted, obviously they couldn't buy that share. Instead of buying, a player could also decide to sell held shares if they had some. They could sell up to 3 of their held shares and then collect from the bank the current market price for each share sold, and those share cards would simply go back into their stacks. So after players have decided whether they want to buy or sell or do neither, then they have the option to donate one of their held shares to charity. They would simply take one of their held shares and place it face down on their charity board. Once this player is done, we would simply go clockwise to the next player, and that player would have the option to either buy or sell, and then the option to donate one of their shares to their charity board. And we will go all around the table until each player has completed that phase. Next is the market manipulation phase. So once we finish the stock actions for each player and we get back to the starting player, now they will manipulate the market. They will select 2 cards. They have to select 1 card from the set in front of them, and they have to select 1 card from the set in front of the player to the right. They can decide which one to select first, but the first one they play will affect the market based on the full value of the card. The second card they select will affect the market based on half the value of the card. So let's say this player decides to select this card as their first card. So we can see coffee will go up by 6 spaces. And then they may decide over here to select this card, which is a minus card. But since this is the second card they're selecting, we take half the value. So this will be a -3. So wood will go down by -3. The price markers can never go off the edge, so this is the lowest and this is the highest they can ever get to. And then once these cards are played, simply discard them. Once this player selects their 2 cards, we simply go clockwise. This player would now select their 2 cards. They're selecting from the set in front of them and the set from the player to the right, which is me. So each player will get to make their decisions on how to manipulate the market with their selected 2 cards. Once we get back to the start player, that completes a full turn. Each player had a chance to take their stock actions, then each player had a chance to take their market manipulation actions. Now we pass the start player token clockwise, and we start another turn. This player would now start their stock actions, go around the table, and this player would do their market manipulation actions. We're going to do 4 of these turns, and that will end the first round. The game will take place over 2 rounds. At the end of a round, the first thing we'll do is all players will reveal their charity cards on their board. During that first entire round, each player would have had 4 opportunities to donate a card to charity. It is optional, so let's say this player donated on their first chance and they donated a card on their 4th chance. All players will now reveal at the end of the round their donated charity cards. These will get turned in for the current market value based on those goods, and that money will get donated to charity. So basically the charity is turning in the shares donated to them, and that money gets placed on the charity board, always to be kept separate from the player's personal funds. So in this example, I'm turning in a coffee and a wheat. I can see that coffee is at 70, wheat's still at 40, so that's 110. I got that from the bank. I put that on my charity board. This money is now frozen until the end of the game, and these share cards can now be returned to their respective supply. Finally, at the end of the round, we're going to reshuffle all of the market cards and deal each player a brand new set of 8, because by the end of the first round, all of these cards in front of them would have been exhausted during the market manipulation phases. We would now play a complete second round following that same exact procedure, and at the end of the second round, we would go through the end of game. Just like at the end of the first round, players would reveal their share cards that were donated to charity, cash those in for money, add that money to the money from the first round from the charity share cards, and then we evaluate which player donated the least amount of money to charity. That player is completely eliminated from winning the game. If there's a tie for players that donated the least, all the tied players are eliminated from the game. After that evaluation, we can simply return the charity money to the supply. Players would then cash in any remaining shares that they held in their personal hand for the current market value, add that money to their current supply of money. Most money wins the game. And that should be everything you need to set up and play Hab Gut.